Today we're diving into the world of drones, comparing two mini flying companions that can add a whole new dimension to your van life adventures. So stick with us as we compare two pocket titans of the drone world, the Mavic Mini and the Hover X1. Don't forget to check out our other videos on everything campervan and motorhome related, from solar to water, heating to gadgets, tyres to trips. If you like this video, please do hit the thumbs up, it really does help me to know what you like, and you can ask any questions or give feedback in the comments. If you want to make sure you don't miss any of our future videos, please hit the subscribe button, and clicking the bell will give you a notification when a new video goes live. Finally, if you do decide to hit the thumbs down, it would be great if you could also leave a comment so I'd know what you didn't like. Whether you're cruising through epic landscapes or documenting your van life journey, finding the perfect drone is something that can elevate your van life adventures to new heights. We'll take a closer look at the design and build of these two compact flyers. The Mavic Mini, known for its sleek and foldable design, has been a favourite among drone enthusiasts for its portability. On the other hand, the Hover X1 boasts a unique form factor and functionality that sets it apart in the crowded drone market. Which one suits your style? Let's find out. We have the Mavic Mini 1, and this is what I've used for some years and I'm very happy with it, and never felt the need to upgrade. But I'll also share the details about the rest of the Mavic Mini range, which is pretty extensive and can be a bit confusing. So let's start with a quick rundown of the Mavic Mini family and why we've stuck with the Mini 1. As we go through the range, you can see that from the Mini 2 the camera has been upgraded to 4K and digital zoom added. The wind resistance was also increased and flight distance. These all stayed similar until we get to the Mini 3 Pro, which adds forward and rear sensors and enables active track, which we'll talk about later. It also has a slightly longer flight range, and the Mini 4 Pro goes even further and adds all-round sensors for collision avoidance. So given all these improvements, why have we stuck with the first Mavic Mini? Well, the 2.7K camera is fine for us. If we went up to one that had 4K, we probably wouldn't use it in 4K due to the size of the files it would create. Digital zoom we can add in post-production. UK and most EU drone rules mean we have to keep the aircraft in unassisted visual line of sight at all times when flying, which means we have to be able to see it. As the Mini is so small, realistically the maximum distance I could legally fly it away from me is probably not much more than 150 metres, so any extra range above that is of no benefit to me. Whilst the extra wind resistance of the higher models may mean we could fly in windier conditions, we've never had an issue with this other than the odd high wind warning, but still being able to fly back with the Mini 1. But the biggest reason for us is the controller. Whilst ergonomically some feel the controller on the later models from the Mini 2 up is better to fly with, for us the size of the Mini 1 controller when folded and its lower weight is a significant advantage. So now we've looked at the functionality and price of the Mavic range, let's do the same for the Hover X1. Here we've added the key specs into the Mavic range. And if we compare it to the Mavic Mini that we'll be using today, the cameras are very similar specs and the wind resistance is pretty much the same. The key differences are the Hover's lower flight time and distance, but its inclusion of active tracking and the fact it doesn't need a controller, which makes it fundamentally different. So let's take a closer look at the Mini and the Hover. Starting with two important factors when it comes to portability, their size and weight. When you compare the two aircraft side by side, there's not much in it when it comes to the size, but when we add the controller and the mobile phone that are necessary to do anything with the Mavic Mini, there's quite a difference. When it comes to weight, the Mavic Mini weighs 248 grams on its own. Adding the controller takes it to 498, and the mobile phone, in our case, a total of 687 grams. The Hovercam X1 weighs in at only 129 grams. And if we double its flight time with an extra battery, it takes it to 171 grams. So I'm able to have the Hover X1 plus an extra battery in a rugged waterproof case for around 150 grams less than even just the Mavic Mini and its controller. When it comes to the form factor, the Mavic Mini's design based on the Mavic Pro was revolutionary and has proved hugely popular. It can be a little fiddly remembering the best order to unfold the arms, but once you are used to it, it's pretty simple. However, the Hover X1 really could not be more simple. There's no need for instructions and anyone can simply unfold the aircraft in one simple movement. On the bottom we can see the downward facing camera and height sensors used for navigation. The Mavic Mini also has the height sensors but no camera, which brings us to the fundamental difference in how they fly. Even during a basic flight there is a vast amount of processing keeping both the aircraft in the sky. The Mavic Mini uses GPS to know where it is, a digital compass to know where it's pointing, inertia measurement unit or IMU to know what direction it is moving in, and the sensors on the bottom to know how high it is. This is a really comprehensive and complicated solution, enabling the Mavic to fly at night, share its location and where it's pointing on a map, autonomously fly in quick shot modes and safely return to its home point if anything goes wrong. But there are some pitfalls. It needs GPS, so flying inside a building, while possible, is not as controlled and you can't use autonomous flight. It can be affected by magnetic fields. For example, you can't take off from a metal park bench as it causes a compass error. And we found you have to calibrate the compass every few flights or if you are even close to a metal object like a van, which is a bit of a pain. And it takes quite some time when trying to take off for the GPS to get a position lock. The Hover X1 takes a different approach. It also has an IMU to know what direction it's moving in and height sensors to know how high it is, but it also uses its forward and downward facing cameras and some clever artificial intelligence to understand where it is, how to get back to a point and very usefully where you are and what you want it to do. Now, this does mean it can't fly at night or particularly low light. It's also not recommended to fly it over water or plain surfaces with no features, and it will struggle where there is rapid change in ground level, for example if you fly it off a balcony. But as there is no compass or GPS to calibrate or lock on, it is very quick to get ready to fly and it flies extremely well inside as it doesn't need to receive the GPS signal. It's not impacted by metal objects or compass variation. So let's take a look at setting them up for a flight, taking a short video starting with the Mavic Mini. First we've got to unfold the controller. Add the joysticks. Open the DJI Fly app. Connect the phone to the controller and mount it. Switch on the controller. Then we can unfold the aircraft itself, remove the gimbal cover, and switch it on. We then have to wait for the aircraft to connect to the controller. And once it's done that, we can see that we can only take off with caution and our hover is not going to be stable because the GPS hasn't yet got a lock. So we're going to wait.
Home point updated.
The GPS has now got a lock, so we're able to take off.
Take off. Home point updated.
And we can take our short video. And then we can land. To get to that point, it's taken around 2 minutes. So now we've got to pack it away. So we switch off the controller. Remove our phone. Switch off the controller. Remove and store the joysticks. Then switch off the aircraft and fold it up. Close down the DJI Fly app. With that taking around 3 minutes, let's see how long it takes with the hovercam. So we open it up and switch it on. Wait for it to boot up. Position it and tell it we want it to hover. We can then record our video. And then by placing our hand underneath, it will land. Switch it off and fold it up. The whole thing taking less than a minute. Now that's just recording the video. Let's take a look at what you have to do to get the recorded video off the aircraft and into your phone. We need to connect our phone to the controller and switch it on. And open the DJI Fly app. We're not going to bother fitting the joysticks because we're not actually going to fly the aircraft, but we do need to open it up because we've got to switch it on and it will do a gimbal check and motor check, which it can't do when it's folded. We then wait for it to connect. And once it's done that, we can go into the gallery. But hang on, where's the video we just took? Something we've sadly done all too many times is we forgot to hit the record button on the screen once we had the Mavic flying. So we have no video. With the Hover X1 it's a much simpler process of just switching on the aircraft, we don't even have to unfold it, and letting the app connect. We then select the aircraft's gallery and it will connect via Wi-Fi. And then we select the file we want, which as it starts recording automatically, we actually have. Once the file is downloaded, it goes straight into the camera roll on our phone. In a third of the time, it took us to find out we didn't actually have a video on the Mavic Mini. We're regularly uploading our footage on the road, so good mobile internet is vital to us. This video is brought to you thanks to our friends at Solwise, who are a UK business that bring the best professional products for mobile internet together in one place. Their technical expertise and support of the products they sell, in our opinion, is second to none, and we've been very lucky to try out a number of products from the likes of Teltonica, Pointing and Q Wireless. You can see reviews of these in our videos. We also love that Solwise very kindly give our viewers 10% discount off their already competitive product range, simply by entering Explore Van at the checkout. So if you're looking for a high quality, professional yet affordable mobile internet solution actually designed for the harsh life on the road, please check out solwise.co.uk. Autonomous shots are the Hover X1 speciality, so let's take a look at it first. With no need for a controller or your phone, you can select the mode you want and change some basic settings using the button on the aircraft. If you do want to change various other settings, you can do this in the app by connecting your phone to the aircraft by Bluetooth.
Custom. Dolly track. Hover. Zoom out. 1.5 meters. Zoom out. 3 meters. Zoom out. Zoom out.
The zoom out shot takes a video on the way out and a video on the way back. You can set the distance to fly away from you from 1.5, 3, 6 or 9 meters on the aircraft itself, and in the app you can set it to rise, lower or travel flat.
15 meters. Bird eye.
For bird's eye, the hover ascends above you and then descends. You can set the height to 5, 7, 9 or 15 meters on the aircraft, and in the app you can set it to rotate slow, fast or not at all.
Meters. Orbit.
Using the orbit mode, the hover will fly around you in a circle as it records. On the aircraft you can set it to do this at 1.5, 2.5, 4 and 6 meter radiuses. In the app you can tell it to do 90, 180, a full 360 degrees or even 3 full rotations. You can also set it to rise 1 meter, stay level or drop 1 meter. Here's an example of an orbit at 6 meters, and you can see if you move, the hover will keep its camera pointed at you.
Continue. Follow.
In follow mode, the hover will fly along behind you as it videos. You can set the time you want it to record on the aircraft from 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 5 minutes or continuously, and in the app you can set the distance at close, standard or far, and the altitude as high, flat, low or lowest. Here I deliberately go into an area where the hover will hit the object, so it stops recording and waits. This is where that ability to change the height it follows becomes really useful, as I can set it to low and it will miss the obstruction.
Continue. Follow.
As you can see here, follow doesn't just work when you're walking, the hover does a great job of keeping up with a bike. Dolly track mode is similar to follow, apart from the fact the hover is in front of you and filming backwards, and the same options are available as for follow. Once you stop moving, the hover comes back to you to allow you to let it land.
Continue. Dolly track.
Okay, ready? The Mavic Mini has a more limited number of what it calls quick shots, but as you can see in this example, where it decided it needed the compass calibrating, which is why I'm spinning it around horizontally and vertically as it does its calibration, it wasn't that quick. Whilst it's possible to hand launch the Mavic Mini with its exposed propellers, it's not something DJI recommend, and sometimes finding a suitable place on the ground to take off can be a challenge. The first, similar to zoom, is what DJI call the droney. However, it only records on the way out, not on the way back. Similarly, Rocket is like Bird's Eye, but it only records on the way up, not the way down. And Circle is like Orbit. The Helix Quickshot is where the drone circles you, increasing its distance away from you in a corkscrew effect. Later models of the Mavic Mini also have quick shots called Boomerang and Asteroid, but to get the Follow Me functions, which DJI calls Active Track, you need to purchase the Mini 3 Pro or Mini 4 Pro, starting from £689. Now, there is a third-party app you can use with the Mavic Mini called Lychee, which does add some Follow Me functions, but personally I've never been too confident in using a third-party app with the Mavic Mini. Now let's look at free flight, where you're in full control of the aircraft. Having flown RC helicopters before moving to the first DJI Phantom drones, the Mavic Pro and now the Mavic Mini, I do like to fly manually, and the dedicated controller with proportional controls makes the Mavic Mini a fun and proficient aircraft to fly, giving you the chance to get more creative shots. The Mavic's flight time, height and distance makes it great for capturing those epic shots that you want. The Hover X1 does have a free flight mode, but obviously not coming with a controller. You have to control it using a virtual controller in the app, which is okay. You don't have proportionality to control speed, but you can carry out multiple actions at once, like rising and lowering the gimbal and rotating at the same time, but it's not as easy as having the flight control sticks on the controller. But it is possible to get some pretty good shots. You are obviously much more limited with the much lower maximum height and flight distance of the Hover, but in free flight with its protected propellers and great visual sensors, I am definitely more comfortable flying it into tighter spots than I would be with the Mavic Mini. This brings us on to protection. With its exposed large propellers, you do need to be conscious of damage the Mavic could do to itself or others. This does often make me think twice about where I can fly it safely. The Hover being so quick to set up and take down, the protection around it and how discreet it is means I am much more comfortable flying it in more places, and even if I do make a mistake and cause a collision, the Hover escapes unscathed, whereas I know the Mavic Mini would need at least some replacement propellers, if not more, if I did the same. Finally, I have to mention what I would say was a unique selling point for the Hover. Using drone footage of people talking has always been problematic, as the aircraft are pretty noisy. So when recording sound, you can usually end up with the sound of the aircraft too.
Diving into the world of drones, comparing two mini flying companions.
As part of the Hover app, you can record your voice and the app will automatically merge this to the video taken by the Hover and filter out the sound of the propellers. Today we're diving into the world of drones, comparing two mini flying companions. You can even remove the need to hold the phone as we do by using a cheap lapel mic attached to it. So what's our conclusion? Well, if you want those epic shots and have the desire and flair for creativity, the Mavic Mini is the choice for you. You can also choose from the vast range to suit your needs and budget, from a second-hand Mavic Mini, the same as I use, all the way up to the Mavic Mini 3 or 4 Pro. If you want portability, ease and speed of use plus vlogging capability, then the Hover X1 is the perfect choice. We will continue to use both, but if I could only keep one, it would be the Hover X1, simply because it's the one I find the most useful for what I need. And the same with cameras, the best drone to have is the one that you've got with you. And due to its really compact size and weight, I pretty much always have it with me. Thanks for watching our video, and as always, if you have any questions or feedback, please pop them in the comments below. If you find the video useful, please like, share and consider subscribing.